You think you understand fear until you see it reflected in the eyes of someone who's supposed to be in control. Picture it, late afternoon in Sacramento, the sun dripping molten gold over cracked asphalt. The streets hum with that low, restless energy cities get right before nightfall. And then, out of nowhere, a sudden burst of blue and red in your rearview mirror, sirens sharp enough to slice through your heartbeat. Eric Porter's hands tighten on the wheel, not because he's guilty of anything, but because he's been here before. Too many times. The sedan purrs as it glides to the curb. Window down, air thick with the smell of hot concrete. From the patrol car, he steps out. Officer Bradley Larson, 30-something, buzz cut, swagger in his stride. The kind of man who carries authority not just on his chest, but in the way his jaw stays locked, like he's ready to pass judgment before the conversation even starts. License and registration. Flat. Cold. The kind of tone that tells you this isn't about traffic law anymore. Eric moves slowly, deliberate, non-threatening, hand to glove box, fingers brushing papers. Every move calculated. Every move observed. Larson leans in, close enough that Eric can see the faint shadow of stubble on his chin. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" There's no curiosity in the question, just the opening move in a game Eric never agreed to play. The exchange is polite on the surface, lacquered civility, but beneath it, a current hums. The officer's eyes aren't scanning for mistakes in paperwork, they're scanning him. Skin, suit, the unspoken math of prejudice. Eric's mind runs scenarios like a chess master 2 moves from checkmate. He doesn't flinch, doesn't stutter. Calm is his weapon, but calm can also be a provocation to the wrong man. And that's when Larson shifts, ever so slightly, into the stance of someone who's decided this isn't a warning or a ticket. This is a test, a power exercise, an audition for who gets to walk away with their dignity intact. The thing is, neither man knows that before this night is over, only one of them will. "Step out of the car for me." It's not barked, it's delivered, like a verdict. The kind of instruction that's less about safety and more about control. Eric's hands rest on the wheel for half a beat longer than necessary. Is there a specific reason for that, officer? The question is measured, not defiant. But in a world where tone is currency, it's enough to make Larson's lips tighten. "I asked you to step out of the car." A pause. "You don't want to make this harder than it has to be." Harder. The word hangs there, charged. Eric's eyes lock on the officers and something unspoken passes between them, a silent recognition of the imbalance here. Still, Eric complies. The door opens with a muted click. The sound of his polished shoes hitting asphalt is deliberate, echoing against the hollow quiet of the street. Larson gestures toward the hood. "Hands where I can see them." Eric complies again, each movement smooth, precise. It's a kind of discipline Larson isn't used to seeing, not the twitchy compliance of fear, but the graceful stillness of someone comfortable under pressure. "You in a hurry somewhere?" Larson's tone dips, curious on the surface, accusatory beneath. "Just going home." The words are simple, but there's a calm weight in them that makes Larson squint. He circles Eric like a shark, testing for weakness. "We've had some incidents around here. You can never be too careful." Eric tilts his head. "Incidents involving men in business suits driving sedans. Or does this have more to do with something else?" The question slices the air clean in two. For a fraction of a second, Larson's posture stiffens. The mask slips. His hand twitches near his belt, not because he needs it, but because he feels something shifting, and it's not in his favor. "You seem awfully familiar with how this works," Larson says finally. "You got something to hide?" Eric's answer is steady. "No, officer. I just believe in being clear about the reasons for an interaction like this. Transparency, you know?" The word transparency lands like a quiet dare, And deep inside, though he'd never admit it out loud, Bradley Larson feels something he hasn't in a long time. Uncertainty. Larson steps closer, his shadow stretching over the hood. Turn around, hands flat. Eric turns, palms resting against the sun-warmed metal. The officer's boots scrape against asphalt as he moves in. The pat-down is quick but not clinical. It lingers just enough to feel personal. A search for weapons, sure, but also for dominance. You're clean. The words sound almost disappointed. Of course I am. Eric's tone is mild, but something about the way he says it makes Larson pause mid-step. Larson circles back into his line of sight. You're pretty confident, like you think you know what's going to happen next. Confidence isn't the issue here, officer, Eric replies without missing a beat. Respect is. The air shifts. Larson blinks once, slow, as if recalibrating. Respect. That's a word he hasn't heard thrown back at him before. Not from someone standing on the wrong side of a badge. You seem to know a lot about what I can and can't do, Larson says, his voice dipping low. Care to explain why? Eric folds his arms loosely, posture unthreatening yet immovable. Let's just say I've had my share of interactions with law enforcement. You pick up a few things along the way. A faint smirk tugs at the corner of Larson's mouth. So, you a lawyer or something? Or something. Eric's answer is clean, clipped, and just vague enough to irritate. The smirk fades. Larson steps forward until they're close enough that Eric can see the faint pulse in his neck. Listen, you think you're smarter than me? Think you can talk your way out of this? Eric meets his gaze, steady. I don't think anything, officer. I just believe in fairness, and so far, I'm not seeing much of it here. That last sentence lands harder than any raised voice could. Larson's eyes narrow, but his jaw works silently. He's not used to being measured against a standard he can't control. Then, slip. Just a flicker, but enough. People like you always. He cuts himself off, but the words are already there, heavy in the air. Eric doesn't move, doesn't blink. People like me, he repeats softly. And just like that, Larson realizes he's crossed into territory he can't easily walk back from. Larson straightens, the words he almost said still hanging like smoke between them. He tries to patch the moment with a shallow laugh, but it comes out brittle. Look, I'm just doing my job. Eric tilts his head. Is that what you call it? Larson's eyes flicker. And what do you call it? Eric's gaze doesn't waver. Selective enforcement. It's not shouted. It's not an accusation tossed in anger. It's laid down like a legal statement, precise, heavy, and impossible to ignore. Larson forces a shrug. You read too much into things. Do I? Eric's voice sharpens, though his tone stays calm. Because from where I'm standing, you made a decision before you even turned on those lights. A decision about me. The silence after that stretches long enough for the hum of distant traffic to seep back in. Larson's jaw works. What exactly is it you do for a living, Mr. Porter? Eric studies him for a moment before answering. I protect people's rights. The words are simple, but they ripple with weight. Larson's eyes narrow. You are a lawyer. Eric doesn't confirm it outright. Let's just say I've stood on the other side of that badge and won. Larson's mouth twitches, a mix of irritation and unease. The subtle shift in his stance is telling. His shoulders are no longer squared in dominance. They've angled, defensive. Eric continues, each word deliberate. And the thing, Abby, out the law, officer, is that it cuts both ways. You know that, which means you also know if this stop isn't handled properly, it's not just a bad look, it's career-ending. The warning isn't loud, but it lands like a blade sliding into its sheath. Silent. Final. Larson steps back half a pace, masking it as a casual shift of weight. But Eric notices. He notices everything. From across the street, a woman walking her dog slows, sensing the static in the air. Her gaze flicks between them before she moves on. Larson clears his throat. "You think you can scare me?" Eric offers a faint, almost pitying smile. Not scare, remind. And for the first time, Larson feels the cold prickle of a truth he doesn't want to face. This isn't just another stop. This is a fight he might not win. Larson plants his hands on his hips, forcing a smirk. "You know, most people in your position try to be cooperative. You're just making this harder on yourself." Eric's eyes don't flinch. Cooperative or submissive? Those aren't the same thing. The smirk fades a fraction. "I'm the one asking the questions here." "Are you?" Eric's voice is still calm, but now there's an edge, like he's done playing defense. Larson steps forward again, shadow cutting across Eric's face. "I could run you through the system right now. See what turns up." Eric leans slightly against the hood, posture relaxed. "Please do. While you're at it, you might want to make sure your body cam is on. That way, when my attorney—" He lets the word hang for a beat, just long enough for Larson's eyes to tighten. "Files the complaint. We have the entire exchange preserved." The mention of complaint hits harder than the mention of attorney. Larson instinctively checks the small red light on his chest camera, only to find it's off. Eric notices. "Interesting. Policy violation number 1. Larson's mouth opens, but Eric keeps going. "Policy violation number 2. You initiated this stop without probable cause. That's going to read really well in discovery." Larson swallows, his throat bobbing. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I do. See, I'm not just a lawyer, Officer Larson." Eric's voice drops, colder now. "I'm the kind who sues municipalities for 7 figures and wins." That lands like a body blow. Larson masks it with a scoff, but his fingers flex at his sides. Eric straightens, no longer leaning on the hood. His posture is level, his tone measured. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step back, return my license, and end this stop." We both walk away. No harm, no paperwork. Larson exhales slowly, jaw tight. The silence between them is heavy, but Eric's gaze never wavers. Somewhere deep inside, Larson recognizes it. He's no longer the one in control. Larson steps back, just far enough to create breathing room. His hand hovers near his belt, not on his weapon, but close enough to remind Eric it's there. "You talk a good game," he says, forcing a chuckle. "Maybe you even know the law, but you don't know me." Eric's voice is almost sympathetic. "I don't have to." Larson exhales sharply through his nose, scanning the street. A delivery truck rumbles by, its engine drowning the next few seconds. When the noise fades, Larson's tone shifts, cooler, calculated. "All right," he says, sliding Eric's license between 2 fingers. "Maybe I let you go. Maybe I don't. But first, we're going to do a quick vehicle inspection." Eric's brows lift, faint amusement flickering. An inspection, on the side of the road, without cause. Larson shrugs. Random safety check. Eric takes a slow step toward him, not aggressive, but close enough that Larson feels the pressure. "You really want to add illegal search and seizure to the list?" Larson smirks, but it's thinner now. "Maybe I just want to make sure you're not hiding anything." Eric leans in just slightly, his voice a whisper meant only for Larson. "You're right, officer. I am hiding something." Larson blinks, caught off guard. "Oh yeah? What's that?" Eric's expression hard. It's about the fact that this entire conversation is being live-streamed. The color drains from Larson's face. His gaze flicks instinctively to Eric's shirt pocket, where the faint reflection of a tiny lens catches the late afternoon light. Eric straightens, speaking louder now for the invisible audience. "Officer Larson, are you aware that you're being recorded in real time?" The shift is immediate. Across the street, a teenager pauses, phone in hand, realizing something's happening. The woman with the dog has stopped again, watching from a distance. Larson forces a laugh, but it comes out hollow. Guess I don't mind a little transparency. Eric's voice is steady, almost surgical. Transparency isn't optional, not for either of us. And for the first time, the scene feels like a stage. Larson trapped under a spotlight he didn't see coming. Larson's laugh dies quickly, replaced by the tight set of his jaw. His eyes dart to the growing cluster of onlookers, a couple leaning against a lamppost, the teenager now holding his phone higher, recording. Eric keeps his tone measured, almost conversational. See, the great thing about live streaming is that there's no editing later, no deleting files, no disappearing footage. Everything you've said, everything you've done, is already out there. Larson's lips press into a thin line. He tries to speak, but Eric doesn't give him the space. You called this a random stop, Eric continues, voice carrying just enough for the small audience to hear. But the law calls it something else. Profiling. A murmur ripples through the onlookers. Larson's ears flush red. Eric tilts his head, studying him like a chess player eyeing the final move. Now, I could stand here and let you dig deeper. Or, you could make the smart call. Larson swallows, glancing briefly at the bystanders, then back to Eric. His voice is low. Take your license. Eric doesn't move to take it right away. Say it louder. The tension spikes. The only sound is the soft hum of the street and the faint scratch of the dog's leash on concrete. Larson forces the words out, louder this time. You're free to go. Eric takes his license with a nod, tucking it into his wallet without breaking eye contact. Good choice. As he steps away, Eric turns his voice toward the crowd. Always know your rights, folks. They're the only thing standing between you and someone else's power trip. The teenager smirks, still filming. The couple exchange quiet nods. Even the woman with the dog lingers a second longer before walking off. Larson stands there, rooted, watching Eric walk toward his car. The red recording light from that tiny lens stays fixed on him until Eric is behind the wheel. When the engine starts and the car pulls away, Larson catches his own reflection in the side mirror, face tight, posture smaller than when the stop began. He knows deep down this isn't over. But for the first time in a long time, he's not the one holding the leverage. The camera on Eric's shirt finally clicks off as he turns down a quiet residential street, the noise of the confrontation fading into the distance. His hands remain steady on the wheel, but his eyes, reflected in the rearview mirror, are sharper now, focused. On the passenger seat, his phone vibrates with notification after notification, comments, likes, shares. The live stream isn't just out there, it's already gone viral. He taps the screen at a red light. Messages pour in. Saw it live. Legend. That cop's career is done. Thank you for standing up. Eric doesn't smile. Not exactly. He just exhales, a slow release of pressure he didn't realize he was holding. Meanwhile, back at the stop, Larson is still standing in the same spot, watching the last traces of Eric's car disappear. His radio crackles with dispatch chatter, but he doesn't respond right away. Across the street, the teenager is uploading his own video to social media. His caption read, "Ingyam to watch this lawyer check a cop. Full video." The couple that was watching walk away, shaking their heads, muttering words Larson can't quite catch. The woman with the dog passes again, offering him a look. Not angry, not sympathetic, just knowing. Larson finally turns toward his cruiser, movements heavier than before. He sits inside, hands gripping the steering wheel. In the side mirror, he catches his own reflection again. But now he sees the faint glow of a new notification on his work phone. It's from his supervisor. "Call me, now." The faintest bead of sweat forms at his temple. The crowd is gone. The street is quiet. But in Larson's gut, he knows. The real storm hasn't even started yet. And somewhere, Eric's live stream is still climbing in views, sealing the narrative before Larson can say a single word in his own defense. 2 weeks later, the clip has been dissected on news panels, debated on podcasts, and memed into oblivion. The headline from a national outlet reads, "Lawyers livestream sparks police accountability debate." Eric sits in his office, a mug of coffee cooling beside a stack of client files. His phone buzzes again, another request for a TV interview. He declines. He said what he needed to say on the street, and that footage speaks louder than any post-game commentary ever could. But the casework piling on his desk tells a bigger story. People are reaching out, victims of harassment, whistleblowers, ordinary folks who saw themselves in that roadside standoff. The confrontation has made him a reluctant symbol of resistance. Across town, Larson sits at home on his couch, blinds drawn. His uniform hangs in the closet, untouched. He's on administrative leave pending investigation, which sounds cleaner than the truth, that the department is scrambling to handle the PR firestorm. The knock on his door earlier wasn't a friend. It was a fellow officer dropping off union paperwork and a quiet warning. They're not going to shield you this time. He spends hours scrolling through comment sections, each one a digi, and Tal jury delivering the same verdict. Words like bully, power trip, and unfit fill the screen. The teenager's video, the one with a sarcastic remix layered over Larson's awkward retreat, has been viewed nearly 12 million times. Larson's name isn't just on official reports anymore, it's on hashtags. In a downtown cafe, the woman with the dog sips her latte while watching the clip on her tablet. She's seen it a dozen times, but the ending still lands the same. She smiles faintly. Not at Eric, not at Larson, but at the rare feeling that, just this once, the balance tipped in the right direction. And somewhere between the noise of public opinion and the quiet spaces in both men's lives, the reality settles in. One encounter, 8 minutes. And nothing is ever going back to the way it was.